Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karuna Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidyanam. Today we're going to see an essay by Ekanath Ishwaranji. So this essay is called Peacemaking, and it's divided into several sections. One is peace as a means and as an end. Two, knowing the laws of the land. And three, collaboration. So he said a lot of things in this essay, but I've divided them into three for the sake of ease of our understanding. So the first part he really speaks about is, how do we bring about peace? By first talking about war. Where exactly is war born? Is war born in guns, in weapons, in all of these instruments? Or war is born in certain countries or certain places? Or it's in certain people? War is actually born in the state of one's mind, because all of these things can't be created unless there's a sense of some kind of violence inside. So everything that we see, which is a reflection of war, actually started in someone's mind. And how does this thought of violence start? Many times it is because we feel like we want to take revenge on the one who's hurt us. So we feel a certain sense of pain, and we feel that we should, we want to take revenge. We want to do something to the person who hurt us. Either we want to yell, we want to scream, we want to shout, we want to just get it out of our system because we're feeling so much pain. So because we're feeling so much pain, we want to get it out. And we feel like the only way the other person will feel our pain is if we give it to them. They should feel what we're feeling. They should go through what we're going through inside. So we should give them that pain. But very beautifully, in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 11, Lord Krishna says, he tells Arjuna, Tasmat Tvam Utishta. He says, Arjuna, oh, rise up. Yasho labhasva, gain fame. Jitva shatrun, conquer your enemies. Bhukshva rajyam samriddham, and enjoy this unrivaled kingdom. Why? Maya eva ete nihatah purvam. He says, I have already killed everybody. Now all I need you to do is nimitta matram bhavasavyasache. Just be an instrument. What does this mean? See, sometimes, like I said, we have that notion of we want to just transfer our pain, and we should give people a taste of their own medicine, and we should make them feel what they're going through. But you and I have no right to do that, because that's not our job. That's not our duty. That is Bhagavan's karma. The karma, Bhagavan is the karma phala data. God is the giver of all fruits of actions. Meaning what? God presides over this law that whatever we do, we will get the results. No matter what happens to us, whatever actions we do, the results will come to us. The results know where we live. And it is the law of karma. And it's not that God actually goes and hands it out. It's that God presides over that law. So now, you and I don't need to be the one to give the results to that person. Because by doing that, we are getting more karma. What's the point of that? So the first thing to understand is, no matter what happens, everyone will get the results of their action. And you and I don't need to be that person who gives it to them. The second thing to understand is, if we do want to build a culture of peace, then we also have to be peaceful. So many times when we're in a place and people shout, "Be quiet!" Well, we're shouting out so loud and we expect everyone to be quiet. To be peaceful, we can sustain a culture of peace. If we are going out there and making so much ruckus, how do we expect to bring peace? So not only is peace an end, but peace is also a means. Now, someone might question that, is war then justified? Because, we have many countries that have a system of defense. And there's a police force, there's an army, there's a navy. So is war justified? So the first thing we need to do is look into our scriptures and see how it is handled. When we look at our scriptures, there is war. It's very clear in the Bhagavad Gita and in Ramayana. But this war was only taken after all possible negotiations for peace happened. So it was not the first option. It was not, yes, let's just jump and go to war. So many negotiations happened. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, you would see Lord Krishna trying to dissuade Duryodhana from fighting in all kinds of ways, but Duryodhana just wouldn't yield. And similarly in Ramayana, there were messengers who went to Ravana. His very own wife told him, his very own brother told him, don't fight, don't engage in any battle with Sri Rama. It's not worth it. But Ravana didn't yield. So it's not that there were no attempts, there were so many attempts. So when we think about a culture of peace, first thing is, peace is the means. And by all means, try to do it peacefully. But if that doesn't work, then yes, one has to resort to defending themselves. Because in the long run, if you see, Dharma always has to preside. It always has to preside. And so everyone has to do what it takes for Dharma to preside. Now, very interestingly, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna went into battle, he did not go with so much hatred. He went with that feeling that he is a Kshatriya, he is a warrior, and he is supposed to do his duty. This is in the beginning, and then when he faced the battlefield, everything, he was completely crushed because he saw Bhishma and Drona on the other side. And when you see Lord Rama, he went into battle, he did not have a thought of hate for Ravana. There was no vritti of himsa. It was that this war is for Dharma. The war was never about Pandavas versus Kauravas or Lord Rama versus Ravana. It was, this is Dharma, that is Adharma. So it was very clear in the mind that the war is not because of my emotion of hate or my emotion of revenge or my emotion of this and that. It is for Dharma's sake. And that is something that keeps a mind balanced. So when they went into war, Lord Rama and Ravana, there was even an instance where in Valmiki Ramayana, Lord Rama tells Ravana, Ravana, you look quite tired today. Do you want to come back tomorrow and fight? He was this, like this sympathetic towards Ravana because he was losing. So you see here that it's very clear why they went to war. And there was one beautiful incident in with our Indian soldiers. There was a battle with Pakistan, and for some reason the bodies of the Pakistani soldiers weren't claimed. And so the Indian soldiers themselves, they did all the funeral rites of the Pakistani soldiers. They cleaned the bodies, they put the Pakistani flags on top of the bodies, and then after that they folded it. They did all the funeral rites for those soldiers. Now please tell me, that cannot be a mind of hate. That is only a mind of love for Dharma. So when we look at peace, yes, peace is the means, peace is the way, and peace is the goal. And if we've attempted all means of this and it doesn't work, then sometimes we do have to defend Dharma, but not out of hate or revenge, but for the sake of upholding Dharma. Because that is something that benefits all, and that is something that will bring peace in the long run. Sometimes we feel so many agitations in the mind and we don't know how to take it out of us. And there's violence and there's things that we're feeling over here. And so he suggests taking a mantra walk. All of us should have some kind of mantra that keeps us steady, keeps us stable, that we can go to when we just want to breathe, when we just want to feel, when we just want to be. And so when we have those agitations, those emotions, those feelings, the trick is don't act right away. If you and I can get ourselves to just pause, that will bring immense benefits because it will prevent us from reacting in the moment and throwing everything out and just giving everything away. So if you and I can find those just still moments to pause, take a mantra walk, and when we come back, we are refreshed. And from that steadiness, then act the way we need to. If we all learn this trick of just pausing, so many fights, so many arguments, so many things can be avoided. It all just takes that strength. Pause. Just wait. Just wait. Not everything has to be done right away, right here, right now. Just wait. Moving on, he also speaks about knowing the laws of the land. When do we feel threatened most? We feel most threatened when we don't know where we are or we don't know what's in front of us. When we go to a distant place, which is so new, there's a sense of fear and insecurity because we don't know how that place is. We don't know where is the safe place to stay, where is the safe place to be. We don't know. People who come to New York City for the first time when they see our subway system, they feel so overwhelmed because there's so many lines, so many systems, and then they don't even know what to do. There's a sense of, wow, this is so big in front of me. People, when they see a smartphone, an Android or an iPhone, sometimes they too get overwhelmed by all the things that it can do. The law, when we know the law of how things work, that takes away all sense of fear, of insecurity, of threat. And this is one way to make peace, is to just know the law. The most important law we need to know is the law of our very own mind. Because we need to make peace here. And when we know the law of our mind, it's easy to make peace. What is the law of our mind? The law of our mind is that our thoughts are affected by whatever we perceive. Whatever we see, we hear, smell, taste, touch, whatever we perceive affects the texture and the quality of our thoughts. Now, once we get this law down pat, it becomes easier to see, why is my mind agitated all of a sudden? Why does my mind feel so disturbed? Why today it's just really, really, really on a high, and tomorrow it's going to be on a low? Why? Because whatever I take in, it's affecting the quality and texture of my mind. So if I know that much about my mind, then I know where to adjust. I know what environment I should be in. Another law of the mind is that my past habits, or we say vasanas, make up my mind also. So why does my mind naturally gravitate towards something, but somebody else's mind won't? My mind may naturally gravitate towards a certain kind of music, but not all kinds, or a certain kind of food, or a certain kind of environment, because it's built by my past habits. So then I can become more aware to create good habits. So when we know the laws of our mind, of any environment, of any place, there's less of a feeling of insecurity and threat. We know what to do and how to respond. And that is a way to also make peace, to know the law wherever I am. The third way to make peace is to collaborate. So, there's so many different countries and so many different places. And sometimes it's very hard to bring about this peace, to make this peace. The first thing that we need to do to make peace, to collaborate, is to have a common vision. And this is even in our family, even in our society, even in our friendship, wherever it is. When that common vision is lost, then we don't know what we're doing with each other. So first is to have a common vision that our way to bring about peace is we want to bring about this culture of peace wherein everyone is disease-free, or everyone is free from hunger, or whatever. There must be some common thing that's tying all of us together, which we all feel that we need to work towards. The second is to have now some flexibility of the ways to come to that vision. So the vision may be common, disease-free. But we all need to be flexible in the ways that we want to come about it, because every country is different. Not only every country, every city, every state is different. So what's going to work for the East Coast is not going to work for the West Coast, or not going to work for the Midwest. Everyone should be able to be flexible in the way they come to that vision because they have a different set of resources. They're made up differently. If we expect everyone to follow A, B, C, D and come to this, it's not gonna work. We need to allow room for people to be flexible, create and grow in their own ways because they have different abilities, different strengths, different resources. So though we have a common vision, we become flexible in the means and ways to come to that vision. And not only flexibility is a necessity, but the third is innovation. So the first is a common vision. The second is flexibility. The third one is innovation. Innovation means sometimes we become so rigid in our own ways. And we feel like the only way to make something happen is to do it this way, because this is the way we've always done it. But guess what? This answer, this is the way we've always done it, it's just not good enough. It's not good enough because it's not allowing for newness. It's not allowing for fresh, creative ideas to flow. And just because we used to do something the way we used to do it, and we've done it this way for 10 years, for 15 years, that doesn't justify anything. If we close ourselves to innovation, we will lose. And Puja Gurudev says one of the most wonderful things about Hinduism is that it has innovated itself, keeping its essence. You know, in our spiritual institutions, we do not teach the way they would teach in Gurukula, because then nobody would come to learn, right? Nobody would come to learn under such strict circumstances. But we would keep the same essence and modify the method. Right now, the way Gurukula works is it's a virtual one. It's online. It's with so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And it's bringing all kinds of examples into it. So when we want to make this culture, there has to be some innovation. And the fourth one is implementation of those who are going to be involved. So there is always in any company, in any society, in any family, there's always the ones that envision, that say, okay, this is maybe what we should do. But those who are actually going to do it, bring them into the decision making. So in a family, if we have to make changes, bring the older children into the decision making. Because, you know, once they're 10, 11, 12, they need to be part of it. Because when they are part of this decision making, then they're more likely to follow it. It's the same with anything. When people are more part of the decision making, when you hear from them, they will more than likely follow it. And what's most beautiful about that is you also get their viewpoint. The one who's going to eventually decide how to collate and put everything together needs to know all the facets of that decision. Very often, we forget this, especially with little children, right? We just say, yeah, this is what you do, and that's it. But you know, when they bring them in, when you ask them what they think, ask them what they feel, they also feel important. They feel like they're being taken into the consideration, and their ideas just uplift everything and make it better. It's harder. It's harder to work like this. It's harder to work like this where we are starting with a common vision, very clear. Then we allow for flexibility, then allow for innovation, then allow for implementation with people sharing their views. It's a longer procedure. It's much harder to work, but in the long run, it's much better. And there will be better results because everyone's more united. And lastly, in this part of collaboration, the fifth point is rise together. So many times when we work together in a society, people come up by bringing other people down because that's the way they know how to come up. So they come up by bringing people down. And they say like, oh, this was not so good and this was much better. And there are many people who do that. But the way to actually come up in life is to bring everyone up, to rise together. In our culture, the way to come up has always been that. It's not that we rise and everybody else fades away into the background. It's we rise together. On the rising together of everyone, we truly rise. That's how growth happens. Not when I'm growing and nobody else is growing. What's the point of that growth? There's no beauty in it. Not that I'm only winning and I'm only one gaining all of these things. That fame, that glory, that growth is very, how do you say, bitter. The one where the glory belongs to all, the rising belongs to all, the beauty belongs to all. That is a very sweet one. And that is the most beautiful expression of collaboration. So this is how to make peace. If we want to make peace, the first step, as I said, as per Eknath Ishwaranji's essay, is to make peace a means, not only an end. As far as possible, make it a means also. The second point was know the laws of the land. Wherever I am, when I know the law, then I can better operate in that system. And 3 is to collaborate. When we collaborate, then we can really make peace together. Finally, in his essay, where does peace really start? It starts in one's mind, and also, he says, in one's home. He says, I ask myself what I would be without my grandmother, who was my spiritual teacher. I might have acquired a well-trained intellect, but I would never have learned how to train my mind, the most precious skill on earth. So peace starts from our minds. But remember, the quality of the mind is determined by what we perceive. And most of the time, for now at least, that lies in our very own home. So if I want to make peace, then make peace in one's home.